If there's anything Black people know, it's that we can be erased from history. This project was meant to be part oral history, part coming of age on the shoulders of giants. My goal was to ask Black writers whose work changed me, how do you make a life as a poet? Then ask and answer for myself. What questions and crafting might help you make a life as a poet in their wake? Black books and Black writers showed me there was a way for me to exist in the world of words, and hence, a way for me to exist in the world. My interest in this project was centering Black voices and exploring the interiority of the creative lives of poets. I wanted to provide a fuller picture for those engaging in scholarship about the Black literary tradition, not only of those interviewed here, but also of the many listed therein as part of the poet's trajectories, to record and decode cultural information shared in these narratives. So, over more than a decade, I interviewed 10 poets whose work I loved. Sonia Sanchez, Lucille Clifton, E. Ethelbert Miller, Tim Siebels, Patricia Smith, Erica Hunt, Forrest Hamer, Natasha Trethewey, Honoré Fanon Jeffers, and A. Van Jordan. My approach to each interview was much the same, though I came to the subjects at different times and in various ways. I conducted the interviews at each author's convenience and traveled to locations most comfortable for them. Each began with a query, wherein I explained the interview as an in-depth look at the breadth of the author's work, focusing on craft, process, and the writing life, as well as biographical information and major influences. The general crux of my questions followed as such. How did your home life and reading life shape you? Who were your influences and comrades, your cultivated community? How do you craft what you bring into the world? How do you make a life as a poet? I was interviewing poets who'd made their way between waves of Black art histories. The Harlem Renaissance saw a confluence of artists in the 1920s and 30s. Then the Black arts movement saw another concentrated burst of brilliance from the 1960s until around 1975. I am certain now, as hindsight is 2020, that Cave Canem began the next communal movement in Black poetry in 1996. Cave Canem, founded by poets Toy Derricott and Cornelius Eady, was a Black poets writing retreat and organization designed to help remedy the underrepresentation and isolation of African American poets in MFA programs and writing workshops. Cave Canem is a home for the many voices of African American poetry. As most poets brought up in their interviews, before this time, they worked without mass community, often in solitude or as the only in almost every room they managed to enter. But Cave Canem, like those other art movements, began to shift that reality. Without two important entities, E. Ethelbert Miller and Cave Canem, this book would never have come to be. My reason for starting the project was simple. I had endless questions for the writers I loved, and I drove Miller, the first teacher with whom I studied in graduate school, up a wall asking about them. He wrote me a letter, said I had to get over this awe syndrome I had about other writers, and suggested I start conducting interviews to get some of those questions answered definitively, to assure myself that other Black writers weren't so different from me. Long before #BlackGirlMagic was trending, magical was a term I once used to describe a writer I loved, and Miller implied that this outlook could be dangerous too. Who can become magical? How can one chart a path to magical? He asked. Though I generally recount Langston Hughes as the impetus for my love of poetry, the insatiable kernel, the spark, came just after finding Hughes, when I stumbled upon a whole book of poems, Honey, I Love, by Eloise Greenfield, at my favorite library. There was a dark brown girl on the cover of the book, with hair in a haloed afro like mine after wash day,